I'm Rad and welcome to Good Game Well Played. I'm joined today by Samuel Spookz Broadley, who plays jungle for Chiefs, which is one of Australia's best League of Legends teams. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
That's good. So Hingers came and saw your gaming house earlier in the year. How have things been going since then?
Well, obviously they've been going quite well. We've managed to pick up an OPL win since, and we just recently qualified for IEM and participated there. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how things have panned out this year.
Yeah, so you've gotten to do some traveling. What's that like, getting to competitively travel?
Yeah, it's been pretty non-stop since OPL. We first traveled to Brazil for wildcards, and then we had like a little bit of time off. It was only a couple of weeks, and because we wanted to do well at IEM Challenger, which was really our last big opportunity for the year. So we boot camped in Shanghai, and then we went from Shanghai to Paris, obviously, to play in IEM Challenger, and we qualified, which was a big deal for us. And then from IEM Challenger, we came home for PAX, and then PAX straight to LA first for boot camp to practice against some of the world's best teams. And then from LA, we went to San Fran and we played at IEM Oakland. And now here I am.
That's insane because PAX wasn't that long ago and you've done two things.
Yeah, it's been quite busy. Yeah,
Favorite place that you went?
I think Paris.
Yeah.
I love the layout of Paris, so yeah. Just currently in Paris at the moment. We're currently at St. Michel's. She's just chilling up there, having a little. Oh, he's chilling up there. Yeah.
Do you find that there is kind of a play style difference that you can notice when you're playing against teams from different countries and regions?
Yeah, for sure. I think the most notable was when we were playing in China. They're very fast. You don't, from I guess an observer's perspective, you don't actually notice how quick and organized these teams are. But when you're playing against them, it's quite frightening. They're always in your face. They're very aggressive. In comparison to, I guess, wildcard teams, after you play these Chinese and Korean teams and you verse these wildcard teams, they seem very slow. And I guess they're very safe. It's always kind of meta based, which means it's depending on the patch. What is, I guess, the optimal way to play the game. The best Korean teams, for example, will always be able to adapt to whatever the best play style is. In Australia, it's hard because we kind of have to lead the meta, I guess. I think
you
other
get to be
teams,
trendsetters.
I guess other teams kind of learn from us, what is the best way to play, and then we go international, and we're like, oh well, you can play the game this way. When we play overseas, I think we're pretty good at adapting. We don't have that much time overseas, so we learn a lot pretty fast. So.
Yeah, I think that's one of kind of the most interesting things about Australia as an esports scene. We are very removed from everywhere else, so it does become this difficult thing where you're having to kind of scrim with the same teams and you're potentially learning the same things from each other rather than getting outside input. So do you find that international travel is really valuable to you guys for that reason?
Being in Australia, I always say it's kind of the biggest weakness is that we can't, constantly verse these international teams and, try learn from them. So yeah, it's definitely, I guess my favorite way to learn.
Yeah. So where does that leave Australia as an esports region? Is it possible for us to be internationally competitive, or is it going to take us quite a bit of time to get there?
It always does feel a little bit that we're kind of trailing behind, but there's already, individual talent across the region, and I don't see any reason that we can't, make it to that point where we're, very internationally competitive. It's just going to be a matter of, hopefully when Australian teams go overseas and we learn, stuff that we can bring it back and everyone can learn from us, and that's how we kind of evolve.
Yeah, it's exciting to be at the forefront, to be the ones to watch for Australia.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you keep focus when you're playing those longer matches and games?
The best example was recently when we versed Longju at IEM. We played a 50-minute game. It gets to a point in the game where it's very stale, and it's whoever makes the first mistake kind of loses, which unfortunately it was us. But
it's okay.
It can be very hard to maintain focus for such a long period of time. But with good communication, and if you're always just constantly goal setting in game, everyone can typically maintain focus.
Yeah. And do you find that you have to make sure that you stay on good terms with each other as well, that you don't want to kill each other on a personal level?
Yeah. When you are spending so much time together, practicing, we all live in a house together, being able to be good friends and maintain a positive attitude all the time can be hard sometimes, I guess. It's impossible to not have disagreements when you're playing together for so long and you're, as I said, in that same space for such a long time. Yeah. We have so many, we have 4 really experienced players, and our egos can clash a lot.
Yeah.
So, maintaining a structure, having your management and coach keep you online and maintaining a professional setting, in my opinion, is the most important thing for a successful team.
And what does a typical training session for you guys look like?
Yeah, so I guess recently when we were in LA, we practiced at the Red Bull facilities. We were actually quite lucky. We got to have scrims against teams like TSM. Typically you have 2 blocks. If you're training really hard, you can fit in 3 blocks, which generally go for about 3 hours each with a break in between. You want to play your game, and I think VOD review is the most important thing, which is essentially, after your game, you as a team, you go through the VOD and you look at key points within a game, and you want to constantly learn stuff from that game. I think League, there's a million different scenarios you can be put in, which is why you want to kind of learn from every scenario within that scrim block, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone makes plays, and there's no specifically wrong play style or decision that you make. The main thing as a competitive team is that you're on the same page, I guess.
Right.
If everyone's on the same page, and you say for example, everyone's 5 of you are being very aggressive, or 5 of you know to play towards this, then you'll have a lot more, I guess, synergy is the word that they use, and that's typically what you see in the best Korean teams in the world, is that they're always moving towards the same objective. I mean, and that's what, with these practice blocks, everyone's kind of striving for.
So are there any teams or players that you look up to within the scene?
Throughout this year, KT Score, a jungler in Korea, obviously, was the player I looked up to. I watched a lot of his VODs. You don't want to mimic or copy their playstyle, but you want to learn from things that they do and kind of adapt it to your playstyle. And yeah, that's what I did with him, I guess. So
do you only look at junglers as people that you look up to, or is it you can learn something from every kind of position?
For sure, you can learn something from every role. Especially as a jungler, it's about how you are working with each player. It's unique in that regard.
That synergy again.
Yeah, it's in every single game you can be working differently or more with another role. So being understanding how that role works can definitely help me. With what I should do to assist them.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's on the cards for you guys next year?
For now, it's, we were going to go have a little bit of a break, but the next split starts in January, so we haven't all that much time before, we want to get back into practice. I guess that's the next stage for us. We're going to, have a little holiday and then get back into practice as soon as possible. And we'll start planning for that ASAP, I hope.
Just take the competitions as they come.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
No
All
problem.
the best next year. That is it for Well Played this week. If you've got a game or event that you'd like to see covered, you can leave it in the comments below. Or if you want to ask me a question, you can do that too. Or if you want to internet hang out with me, you can follow me on Twitter @UngHardYo. Until next time, don't be toxic on the internet. Right out.